Coming up next.
Everyone that I work with and my colleagues, we really love what we do, and we were happy to be such an integral part of supporting people through this pandemic. We're a little tired, so...
The Job Talk podcast shares stories from people who are passionate and love what they do in their careers. Through conversation, we explore their careers, past work experiences, and the education that got them to where they are now. We are putting together a Career Crisis Ultimate interview series. We are asking experts to give their best advice and guidance around work anxiety, career pressures, career goal setting, and ultimately, career transformation. To learn more about this special interview series and get notified when it's available, please visit our webpage at thejobtalk.com/help. This is the shortened version from our in-depth conversation. Please visit thejobtalk.com to find the full episode.
Today's guest is Cassandra Woit. Here's our job talk with a pharmacist. Yeah, I imagine the competition is quite high to get into pharmacy. Do they just look at your grades, or are they looking at other activities you might be involved in or volunteer work, or do they just base it strictly on grades?
They do give kind of a GPA range of where you're more likely to be a successful candidate, but they really look at what makes you a good person to be a pharmacist. So they're looking at volunteer experience, extracurriculars, other leadership qualities that you might have, experience that you have. So while it is competitive, it's still a good class size, especially here at U of A. And they're really looking not just for the grades. I think probably every program kind of has a similar thing, but once you're in, it's like C's get degrees. That's where we're at. As long as you're learning the material and you're going to go out into practice and really be focused on the patient base that you're working with. I wouldn't say it's just a GPA based requirement.
What's the course load like when you're going through the program? Is it intense? Did you have a part-time job while you were going through it?
When I was in school, there was a lot of overlapping course modules, and you were trying to balance a lot of that. So I think they've really streamlined the process. And now for fourth year pharmacy students, it's a full year of rotations. So the first 3 years are your pretty course heavy, learning all of the medications, the medical conditions, all of that. And then your last year is 4 separate rotations, 2 months each. So you get to see a good range of practice of pharmacy, because it does really vary depending on where you're practicing. So I myself didn't have a part-time job during the school term. I would work full-time over the summers, whereas I had other friends who had almost full-time jobs during the school year. So I think it really depends on what your needs are and what you're able to do, but it's definitely feasible both ways.
It's not just the pharmacists you see in the pharmacy. What other occupations can you do with the education that you receive when you go through it?
So there's kind of 3 pillars that I talk about with pharmacy practice. You've got your community pharmacy, hospital pharmacy, and then administrative pharmacy. So that could be working with policies with Alberta Health Services or policies with Alberta Blue Cross. So kind of more of the policy administration side of it. Hospital pharmacy is something that I've never been a part of, but it's its own kind of world in pharmacy as well. So sometimes it's difficult for us to all work on or advocate together, because we do have such different needs. So it's trying to find a common ground of how can we support all pharmacists, which I think is really interesting in a profession. And then you have community pharmacy, where you think of it's the counting pills in your white coat behind the counter, but there's a cohort that are working in supportive living and long-term care. So they're not actually in a pharmacy, they're in the supportive living facilities, or there's compounding pharmacies in communities. So they're working on actually making up compounds. And so it's a really diverse group of professionals who all fall under the term pharmacist, but it's It's not just one activity that they could be doing.
What kind of advice could you give somebody that's thinking about studying to become a pharmacist?
It depends on what type of pharmacist you want to be. So
Yes.
if you want to be a hospital pharmacist, are you looking into, working with a specific medical condition? Because I think that's really where hospital pharmacists find their niche. And so if you're really passionate about a certain condition and the medications that go along with it, you want to work in a hospital setting, you like that kind of the feel of being in a hospital, but not being a physician or a nurse in a hospital, then pharmacy would be a great thing for you. If you like customer service and being people facing, you think you've got good problem solving skills, you're patient, then community pharmacy would be a great fit because you get kind of all of those aspects where you can still be really clinically focused on the medications and helping people, but there is that kind of person focus. So if you've got those type of skills, that would be really great. And then also, if you're interested in policy and furthering healthcare, if you think that from a medication perspective, you've got skills that you can bring to the table, pharmacy would also be a program for you because you don't have to work in a pharmacy. You can use those skills in another setting as well.
Thank you for tuning in to the Job Talk podcast. For more information, please visit us at thejobtalk.com. Our podcast music was created by our friend Mike Malone in Edmonton, Alberta, Canada.